Okay, so once you get your two made, then up here on the board, I've told you what to write on each one of the tabs. So it'll be ray, vertex, naming angles, side of an angle, angle bisector, right, acute, and obtuse. So if you'll get that put on your tabs. All right, so when you have your first tab, ray, okay, underneath, I want you to lift that tab up. And underneath the tab ray, this is what I want you to draw. Hopefully you already know what a ray is, right?
Not really.
Okay. Not really? But it has an end point and it has an arrow.
Were we supposed to learn that?
Probably middle school. Okay, but it's the side of an angle and that's what makes it important. A ray is nothing more than the side of an angle. All right, so this has an end point, it has an arrow, it's the side of an angle. This is the part that we are going to start talking about angles. If this were my ray, I'm going to name it as ray JK. Can I name it as ray KJ?
Yes. No, you can't. No, that's not the order it goes.
Why does it have to matter about what order it is?
There's an arrow.
Good.
And there's a point.
Wherever the point is, that's the letter I have to start with. Okay? Now underneath vertex, I want you to flip that up. You have that whole section to the line. And underneath that, I'd like for you to add this information right here. Under the vertex tab, you're going to put a vertex as a point where those two lines meet. Y'all listen to me. The vertex is the thing that's going to kick your hiney. You with me? You need to be careful. You need to know right where the vertex is. On this one right here, that A is the vertex. It's always the one that goes in the middle. Always, always, always. Okay? The vertex must be in the middle. Okay?
Anybody need a stapler?
Okay, so we have vertex CAT. Or I can name that angle TAC. But the A has to be in the middle. That is not angle ATC. Are you with me?
Yes.
T is not the vertex. That's not your shared coordinate. Okay, now we're going to go to, wait with me. Now we're going to go to naming angles. How do we name angles? Now, it is very nice and simple when I'm just put a one single angle out there. But when I give you a crazy picture, maybe something like, I don't remember where one is. What if I gave you a crazy picture like this, right here, right, like this right here, and I ask you to name those angles? That's not going to be as easy. Are you with me? So we're going to get there. You're going to be able to name those. But right now, we're under the naming angles tab. Okay, so under the naming angles tab, here's what I want you to write. There are three ways that I can name this angle. And again, notice when I'm talking about the vertex, it's the one in the middle. So I can name this angle CAT. I can name this angle TAC. Or because they have that little bitty one in there, I can also name this as angle 1. That little bitty angle in there, or that little bitty number in there, does not mean that it's 1 degree. But you have to watch that vertex.
So no matter what, if A is in the middle, since it's the vertex, you can name it whatever you want. So it could be like those two.
Good. Yeah. So, but the A has to be in the middle.
Yes.
Because that's naming this angle. If I were to name this if I were to name this ATC,
No.
that won't work because A to T to C is this angle right here. Are we good? So that vertex is always in the center when we're trying to name them. Okay, now let's go underneath the next tab. Okay. Under the next tab, under the sides of an angle. Well, all an angle is two rays put together, and they're sharing that one point, that vertex. So ray AC is the side of an angle, and ray AT is the side of an angle.
Why? Why didn't you
The letter in the middle is the vertex.
Oh, is this still the same tab thing?
No, this is underneath the sides of an angle tab.
Whoa. Oh, sides of an
And remember, I cannot name this ray TA because T is not the end point. T is where the arrow is. All right, so now underneath the next tab, it's a big one. It's under angle bisector. Somebody tell me, what does the word bi mean?
Two.
Very good. So an angle bisector cuts an angle into two equal parts. Much like a midpoint cuts a segment into two equal parts. Right? Isn't that what we just talked about? Okay, so right here we have a midpoint. And it cut this segment into two equal parts. We also have an angle bisector, which would cut an angle into two equal parts. So right here, angle CAT is cut in half by ray AB. AB is the bisector. What that means is if they give me that AB is the bisector, that means that angle CAB is going to be congruent to angle BAT. And I'm going to take us back to the first week of school when we talked about what's the difference between congruent and equal. Remember, congruent is talking about shapes. So here it's saying that angle CAB is congruent to angle BAT. Or I can put this little m in front of it. That little m means measure. So now the measure of angle CAB is equal to the measurement of angle BAT.
So is the bisector kind of like a midpoint?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And another way that you will see it is like right here at the bottom, where it says that the measure of CAB, this little angle right here, okay, this angle right here, is equal to half of the entire angle CAT.
It's almost 40, but it's half is 40.
Right. So the total angle would be 40, right? And angle CAB, which we know up here is 20 degrees, is half of whatever CAT is. So that means that the measured angle CAT was 40, so half of 40 gives me the 20. Okay, so underneath your right tab, we know that we usually draw an angle this way. We put the 90-degree symbol right here in the middle. It's this little box thing right here, right? It stands for 90 degrees. I have the measure of angle CAT is 90 degrees. Remember the word measure, M little here stands for the word measure. Angle CAT is a right angle. But I also want to remind you that those two rays come together and they are considered perpendicular. They are perpendicular lines, and this is the symbol right here that you're going to need to know. I may not tell you that they're perpendicular, but I may give you that symbol and you should know. Underneath the acute, you're going to write that it's less than 90 degrees, but it also has to be bigger than 0 degrees, because if it's below 0 degrees, then it's really not an angle. Reflex is when it's greater than 270. So when you see this right here, this means between. that the measure of angle CAT is between 0 and 90. Something that people get confused about on this one is this part right here. Because many can read this one and read that the measure of angle CAT is less than 90. But this one is kind of written backwards for how you read it. Many of you would see that the measure of angle CAT has to be greater than 0 degrees. That's really what it's saying. But instead they're using the word between. So it's between 0 and 90. The measure of angle CAT is greater than 0 or less than 90. And then the final one for obtuse is that they are greater than 90 but less than 180. And a reflexive is what we were just talking about. And that's when it's greater than 180 but less than 360.